Welcome to Real Flix Reviews. We're like a book club for people who hate reading. This month we're doing forum films, so we picked the movie Red Violin, made in 1998, and we bring you movie news at the end of the program. This week we have Jonathan Charney, James Stevens, and the man who's known as the Cadaver Whisperer, Ryan Preston. This week we're doing the Red Violin, and it was Ryan's pick. And Ryan, what's this movie about?
Okay, well, the IMDb the IMDb description says, perfect red-colored violin inspires passion, making its way through three countries over several owners, and making its way through,
3 centuries.
3 centuries over several owners and countries, eventually ending up at an auction where it may find a new owner. Or, as I like to just really describe this movie as, the story or the life of one woman lived through a violin.
Not a bad one.
Yeah, that's actually that's a lot more accurate than the IMDb description.
It's better than Passion
But, you know,
is Timeless.
it kind of doesn't exactly bury the lead, though, when you write that in the IMDb description.
Yeah.
True.
You know, I'm going to kick this one off. I was appreciative of the fact that IMDb did not have anybody as a starring role in this movie, because there really is no starring role.
Well, the starring role is the instrument itself.
Exactly.
Right.
That's the only common thread throughout this entire movie. That's the common. There's no actor that you see in every scene. There's only the violin that is basically in every scene.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and it's really only tied together sort of by the tarot card reading. But I mean, again, it's not a main character. It's more just a catalyst.
Yeah,
the violin.
No, the tarot card reading is a plot device.
Yes. The only thing that I see is one of the things that I find really cool about this movie is that the actors are only there to move the story along, to get the violin from one place to the other. That's it.
Right.
And if you actually look at the posters that they had out, they had Samuel L. Greta Scacchi or whatever, Josh Fleming, Don McKellar. Those are just the reason why they even had those people on there is because those are names that you can recognize.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Other than that,
I mean, especially the reason that Sam Jackson is like the highest billed person in this movie.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, he wasn't even really a top actor. I mean, I think he had less movie time than the little kid.
Oh yeah, well, I was actually going to bring up later, but I mean, this was back when Sam Jackson hadn't gone all Sam Jackson on everybody. You know what I mean? He became sort of a parody of himself after many years, and this was really back in the day when he was a really good actor. Yeah.
I mean, you saw him kind of, as John and I said, you know, he kind of pulled the Pulp Fiction like once or twice in the movie, but all in all, really, he didn't have that many lines to deliver.
Well, the character is more of a toned-down version of the one he normally plays.
Right, much more toned down. Like I said, he became sort of a caricature of himself in later years.
Yeah, that's pretty much what like you said, he's pretty much playing the same role over and over and over again in multiple movies. But if you look at him in a movie like this, he has really great acting ability.
Yeah. You're right, though. I love that the billing is funny because it's just like Steven Seagal in Executive Decision.
Yeah.
He was in the first 5 minutes of the film, and that's it.
Yeah. I mean, because that's one of the things I appreciated about this movie is the fact that they're not using... Most of the scenes that have actors in this movie are played by people who don't really have a lot of Hollywood blockbuster movies under their belt.
Yeah.
Right. Well, and look, I mean, even though they had some names to throw into this thing, this was a movie with a $10 million budget. It didn't even make its budget back. I think it made maybe $9.4 million.
Really?
So, I mean, it did not have any kind of box office life at all.
I can see it.
It should have. It's a great movie.
It's a great movie, but it had a lot of cult, notoriety after the fact.
This isn't this. I could definitely tell that this wouldn't have been a movie that made it in modern theaters. Not when you got movies like Star Trek Into Darkness, Pulp Fiction.
But this is '98.
Right. Even then, this wasn't the type of '90s movie that would have made it.
Actually, looking up the director, François Girard.
Girard.
Yeah, I think it's Girard. Anyway, he's from Canada. If you actually look at his thing, he does not.
To be fair, he's from fucking French Canada, so,
It's Canada.
Sorry to our Canadian listeners.
Yeah.
Or watchers.
Whatever. Anyway, he doesn't really have very many movies. He's got Silk, 2007, and then he's got some movies that are more like music video type things like Bach.
Right, he's done a couple of shorts
Yo-Yo
and
Ma
stuff like that, you know.
And 32 short films and things like that. He's really got nothing, but this movie should have jumped his career, and unfortunately it didn't, because I really do appreciate what he did here.
Yeah, my favorite part of this entire movie is how it switches languages so well.
Yeah.
That's the part I thought when I saw it, hold on. Well, when I saw it, I was like, that was really well done. That was because that could have gone good or bad, but the way they tied it in with the multiple languages, the multiple characters, I thought was one of the best part about this movie. You weren't stuck listening or reading to one language. It was very well done.
Yeah.
Right. Well, and it almost it gave you something almost new to do. Well, because you're already reading most of the movie anyway. So anybody who's got a thing about that, you're already halfway there. And then to be able to sort of, like you said, go on this journey through these countries and then hear all the different languages, it really brings you into the context of where you are. You know?
Yeah. And I appreciated the fact that you got taken into different eras, not only different eras, but different cultural things. Like when you go from Italy to France to Vienna and then you go into communist China, and the drastic change that came in there, and then you see you get introduced to the brainwashed culture of the communist era. And I thought that was really, really cool. And then before that, you kind of deal with some gypsies and kind of how they go on.
And the design sensibility of every era and every town and where they were in there were really well done.
Yeah.
It wasn't. Wait, it wasn't.
I've been saying this for a while. I'm sorry to cut you off, John.
No problem. I was just, the design sensibility is really well done. I mean, it looks like you're in there. It doesn't look like a Hollywood, back lot that they use for every movie,
Yeah.
Right. Well, I've said this for a while that something about the mid '90s. It was kind of this sweet spot of CGI existed, but it wasn't as wide. Obviously, it was widely used. It was used really, really sporadically. So when you had something like this, a period piece, there was no way to rely on anything but just like great sets and great costume design and great score and the acting and stuff like that. These are the things I had to rely on. And in the mid '90s, you almost had the peak of what we were able to do with practical effects and set design and things like that. Because after mid '90s and the early 2000s, that's when CGI started to replace a lot of those types of arts. Nobody makes miniatures anymore for destroying a city. Well, they CGI it. So
they do, depending on the movie and the budget. Stuff like Lord of the Rings.
Depending on the director's sensibility, really. I mean, it's a lot of people have to fight for these kinds of things. Like, no, I want somebody to build this set legit instead of you having a green screen.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like Peter Jackson did for the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit movie. There is some, but it's not as used as much as they used to, which is a shame because the best is the mix of the two.
Yeah, I got a random question for you, Ryan.
What's that?
So, did you always think that Casper was the ghost of Richie Rich?
That's random out of left field.
That was really random, dude.
Because, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, after seeing this movie, I'm convinced that Casper was the ghost of that little boy with the violin.
He was Macaulay Culkin?
No.
Yeah, because maybe I was thinking you were talking about, is Casper the friendly ghost the ghost of Richie Rich, the Macaulay Culkin Richie Rich?
No.
Oh, to continue the baseball reference, I really want to shout like ball one or something.
But, I mean, how much crap that little kid went through? And then all of a sudden to die like that? I would think he would come back as a ghost and haunt the crap out of people for years to go.
Well, it's all his stupid-ass father's fault creating a metronome, man.
If
he hadn't invented the metronome, that kid wouldn't have had a heart attack at 180 beats per minute.
Dude, that metronome was cool, though.
By the way, that sounds like a great name for a band, Death by 180 Beats.
Yeah.
Death by metronome.
love it's really what it was.
I love the scene though when that poor kid drops dead. You see the face of the guy who was going to play in From, just kind of like whatever, and you see his stepfather go,
right?
Just no,
my money,
my livelihood.
Yeah, he didn't give a damn about the kid. It was the fact that the only chance he had to redeem himself just killed over.
Well, there went his golden goose.
I thought it was funny that he's kind of like at that last moment, he's like, so what happened to the violin?
Yeah. Right. And then they're like, oh, well, we couldn't give it to another child, and you see his face light up like, oh, thank Christ.
And then
they're like, so we buried it with them. No.
And I always expected that guy was the one that broke in there and stole it, but it was always the gypsies. You gotta blame the gypsies for that,
It's a European movie. They gotta blame the gypsies.
I was like, really? The gypsies are the ones that are gonna go and rob some poor little kid outside an orphan?
Well,
orphanage?
It had to have been the dad.
And they're, but if you're gypsies, you see a musical instrument getting buried with a kid. The kid's not gonna use it.
Yeah,
Come
but
on.
they didn't see it. They came across it later.
So they just started digging up random graves?
So hold on.
Hey, there's no dignity in death anymore.
Are you saying it...
You would know.
The movie implies that it was the gypsies. Do you think the dad actually came, broke open the grave, took it, and sold it to the gypsies?
I felt the movie implied that he did it. And then sold it because he had bills.
I actually agree with that.
I don't know. I'm kind of blame the gypsies.
But why wouldn't he sell it to the guy who wanted it? I mean, why sell it to gypsies instead of the guy who would have given you a lot more money?
Exactly.
That's the only question I have.
So that's why I say the gypsies
Fair
did
point.
it. Because I mean that what John just said. I mean, he's not going to get a lot of money from the gypsies. The gypsies, I just think, just travel through and we're like, hey, there's a grave there. Let's go grave robbing.
So what did you think, excuse me, of Ian Fleming's role? I thought out of all of them, I thought that was the most random.
The Satan?
Well, just to the fact that he's there practicing, getting inspiration, and the people are by the door going, I don't know whether to call the cops or continue listening. Because they're worried. I mean, there's an odd noise coming from his room.
Well,
right.
I gotta say that. I mean, that the way they portrayed him, he supposedly had a lot of talent. Because I mean, that violin was going quite a bit.
Yes, true. A lot of beats there.
Yeah. He kept the rhythm.
I love that conductor's face. When he was about it, when he said, we're going to play this, and he sticks his hand out like, stop!
Yeah.
Throws the thing down, son of a bitch! Runs out of the room.
Yeah, because I told John, I'm like, this is actually one of the best parts of this movie. Is right there when he comes out, and he's just like, silence.
I wish they did a more...
James, did you and John watch this together, or did you watch it with your wife?
Yeah, I watched it with John. My wife had some stuff to do, so she didn't get around to watching it. But she Jen and I watched it like about 3-4 months ago.
Oh, okay, cool. I was wondering if she'd seen it or what she thought of it.
Yeah, she hadn't seen it before. Her and I sat down and watched it, but yeah.
The only thing
because I stumbled across it on Netflix, and I thought, hey, that's a great movie to have on Netflix.
Yeah, it is a good movie to have on Netflix. One of those like, oh yeah, I haven't seen that in a long time.
Yeah,
I do wish.
Hey, you know what you should start doing, James? Is every week write down sort of your wife's woman's opinion on what we're talking about.
Well, she liked this movie. She enjoyed it a lot. Anyway,
Well, the only thing I wish they did during that scene was zoom up on the crowd. When that whole thing happening. That's what I really wanted to see, because from far away you could see their reactions. But I wanted, that's the one part I wish they kind of zoomed up on the crowd instead of just that one gypsy lady.
Yeah, so I do have a plot hole question.
Okay.
And Brian, being our specialist in this area, how long does it take for blood to coagulate in the body?
Okay, this is a thing that I always wondered too. Well, not wondered, but okay, let's just put this out there. For those of you who have no idea why he's referencing that, I work at a mortuary on my other time.
It's because
you're ruining it. But you should have said, because he took the blood of his dead wife and used it to, lacquer the violin.
Right. Well, see, my thing was, I only until watching it again yesterday did I realize, oh, okay, he sort of mixed it in with the varnish, so it probably wouldn't coagulate once he varnished the
But
violin.
how long was she dead before he did that?
But it not that long. I mean, especially from the vein, as long as she wasn't bleeding. You know what I'm saying? Like continuously after she died. I mean, it wouldn't coagulate that quickly because he probably got to it that night.
Okay.
So you probably got at least a few days.
Really? A few days?
Sure.
I mean,
sure.
Because I know that during the embalming process, they actually, take all the fluids out of the body.
Take the fluids out of the body and then replace it with embalming fluid. And when they do that, usually the blood is still, it's not coagulated yet. Otherwise, the process would be really, really difficult.
Okay, so my question to you was how many days before, how long until they're have to use some fun little method to get the blood to come out? I mean, because that's what I was kind of curious about.
Well, at a certain point, you just have to use really, really, really heavy chemicals.
Okay.
Yeah.
So okay. Anyway, because that was kind of what I was curious about, because I saw him take her out and then started cutting her.
The way that he was sort of massaging the arm to get the blood flowing. That's almost the way that you have to do it with embalming fluid to get the embalming fluid to run through the body.
So he pretty much, the director actually did some research there. Okay.
Oh yeah, well I mean, just the simple fact that your heart's not beating, so your blood's not flowing. It was a good little addition.
Well, because I was curious because I've got this nice, lovely scar on my arm, and when I cut through the vein on that one, it, I was able to get the bleeding to stop. Like 5-6 hours later through the vein. So,
but that's more of
it was exposed to air.
It's hitting open air, and the blood's only coagulating on the surface.
Yeah, so I was kind of curious about how long it would take if there's no exposure.
See, my question is, does the heavy chemicals is the reason why Ryan chose the movie Super?
Wow, that was a stretch, John. I got to give you that one. That was a major stretch.
That was random.
Yeah.
Yes, it was.
That was more random than Casper and Richie Rich.
Hey, at least mine had something to do with the movie.
But hey, at least we can get off this insanely macabre topic of embalming.
Well, no, but that's a legitimate. Like I said, that was a legitimate plot in the movie. I mean, that's why the red violin was the red violin. And I was curious about how much.
It's theoretically possible. You could mix blood with some varnish and some alcohol, some alcoholic compounds, and brush it onto a violin.
My only real question would come down, when you mix that in there, how long would it really last? Would it last a couple of centuries? With the combination between it? That's my only real question. How long would it really break down?
When they actually did like close-ups of the violin, I thought it was actually a nice touch that you can see the way that it was flaking off was a little abnormal for usual varnish. It was a little thicker.
Yeah. Yeah, and it was the way that it was coming off. I mean, over the years it had obviously worn down, and that's why there was sections of it that were really still red, and then there was faded areas, and then there was areas with no varnish.
Well, see, it looked to me that almost somebody had revarnished it, because if you take a look, it had like the standard like varnish color on it, and then you had the part with the blood with a little more reddish tinge. It looked like it had been previous.
I think that might have just been sort of the varnish and the blood maybe separating over time, and I don't know why I'm actually getting scientific on this. It's a goddamn movie.
You are getting way into that. But like I said, I think that was just the way that they tried to make it look like it was aging properly for that type of violin. That's all I think it was.
I did think that the end of the movie really fit the rest of the movie, though.
Yeah,
how it
absolutely.
happened.
Well, that's what I was gonna start talking about eventually. Is you pick any object that's been around for a long time. You know what I'm saying? Antiques, if you will. Every single thing has its own little story of the hands that it came across, and like, to me, objects can sometimes have better adventures than people, because they get passed around a lot more and travel a lot greater distances over much more vast periods of time. And so watching something like this, I thought it was a great sort of line through these times, like you said. Well, it starts out, I have a list of the places. It starts out in Cremona, where the violin was made, moves to Vienna, then to Oxford, England, Shanghai, China, and then eventually into Montreal. just the crazy story that this object had, you know what I mean? Like representing almost this woman's life.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, was a great way to tell a story of an object. You know what I mean? Because that's really what this was. You know, like this object and what this object has meant to certain people throughout history. You know what I mean? And there's a ton of those stories, but they never get told. You know what I mean? So that's why I kind of really always appreciated this movie.
And that's where I love where the tarot cards came in, because that really the tarot cards that really extended the story. You know, when the lady's flipping it over and talking about it, and then it fades over to one scene. It goes back. She flips another. I thought that was really well done. How it extended the story.
Yeah.
Well, it broke it down in sort of these little sections. You know, the cards kind of being the different acts of the play, if you will. You know.
Yeah. Exactly.
So here's my question: as your pick, Ryan, what do you give this movie?
Oh man. Why can't we do freaking half numbers?
Sorry, no
because it's
point.
a slippery slope.
It is a slippery slope. A really, really solid 4. I can't watch this movie all the time, but sort of like it's one of those, like, if I find somebody, oh, you've never seen this movie? Oh, well, let's watch that one. I'd love to watch it with somebody who doesn't see it, who hasn't seen it before.
What about you, James?
I agree. I'd give it a 4. I was kind of kicking around with a 3 on it this morning, but all in all, it's just a solid 4, like Ryan said. There's no reason not to give it a 4, other than just to kind of nitpick at it. But all in all, it's a great movie.
I agree. I give it a 4. I was originally thinking about a 5, but when you compare it to some of the other movies we've given 5s to, it just doesn't match up. But this is a strong 4.
Yeah,
that's exactly what I was thinking. And we're pretty much in the majority here. IMDb rating 7.6. Rotten Tomatoes top critics 73%, and the audience is at 90% on it. So I mean, it's a really well liked movie. Just didn't see the life in the box office where it probably needed it.
Well, I think that the benefit, I think the problem people are going to have is the fact that this isn't a Hollywood-esque movie. This isn't an action movie. This is a fairly well thought out drama that actually has a story that you can really sink your teeth into, unlike like Transformers.
And for I was going to say, for a $10 million budget, you can't see any better use of $10 million as far as costume design, set design, the places that they took this movie. It was an unreal use of that money.
I mean, they stretched $10 million out. I thought it would have been at least 30 or 40 or more by the visuals.
It would have been 60, $70 million today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact they did it with 10 is quite an amazing feat to me.
Yeah,
right.
It is. But as Ryan said, it was a different time, and they were able to work. I would say, at that time, a $10 million budget. I mean, you could work quite a bit with that.
At $10 million today,
if you use the money properly, and like paying an actor some $100 million or some ridiculous stupid amount that the actor's not worth.
I mean, today $10 million's nothing, considering a lot of movies have $100 million budgets.
Yeah.
And then another $100 million advertising budget.
Yeah.
So now you have to make back $200 million, and then when you only make $140 million with your movie, then they consider it a flop.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm still surprised that this movie hasn't made back its budget.
I bet it has.
That shocked me, dude. And luckily, I think it has a lot of life on DVD.
I mean, is this the current up to?
Well, no, that was actually. I don't know their current gross.
I don't think I have that site on here anymore.
No, my guess is when they do on IMDb, it doesn't include. It's probably total box office sales.
Yeah,
I don't see them. Office. I don't see them including DVD sales because that's more of a long game.
Well, I have a site that I had a site that does that. I have to track it down again.
So Ryan, do you have any Do you have any movie news?
I do actually. I got a couple of things here.
Oh, wow.
This first one actually comes out of Deadline.com, and this is gonna freak out James. Medieval Times, the movie. Now this is my question for you, James, and also John. Is Medieval Times? Does everybody know what this is, or is this sort of like a Southern California thing? Because I've grown up with the idea of Medieval Times. But does everybody know what I'm talking about when I say that?
I know what you're talking about, but I hope that's not what you're talking about.
Yes,
it is exactly what I'm talking about. Now, for those of you who don't know what I am talking about, Medieval Times is it's basically what they consider dinner theater, I suppose. And you go into this giant warehouse that looks like a castle made out of cardboard.
Cardboard and
have at thee, scoundrel.
And cheap wood.
You sit down in these sections. Those of you who've seen Cable Guy, you might know what I'm talking about. I think it's the only movie that it was portrayed in.
No, there's like
and
three
that
Kumar,
I know
isn't
of.
And I can't think of
the Harold and Kumar?
No.
I don't think so. But anyway, so you sit down, and then while eating giant things of chicken or prime rib, you watch people joust and sword fight. Now this is a franchise, from what I understand.
You don't get any knife or fork.
And they're making a movie out of it.
Yeah,
now the two companies that are involved in this, the two producing companies are Bender Spink and Broken Road. Bender Spink you might know because they have some notoriety because they're about to start production on Hangover 3. And then Broken Road are the wonderful people that brought you the unbelievably brilliant film Jack and Jill, starring Adam Sandler.
Okay, so I'm going to do a little prediction here that this movie's going to suck out loud.
The fact that what they did was these two companies got involved with the Medieval Times franchise and started shopping around to a bunch of studios saying, "Hey, we're gonna make a movie out of this."
I can't wait for Denny's the movie.
Okay.
Or I know McDonald's, The Clown's Revenge.
If anybody out there knows who Adam Carolla is, he's got a great joke about Medieval Times. He says, "You know what I really need with my prime rib? Tournament."
Exactly.
So the fact that nobody goes to these things in real life, so the fact that they can think that they can make a movie out of the franchise, it's driving me crazy, man.
See, I'm totally down for a good movie about dark ages and medieval times, but why doesn't it have to be about a horrible restaurant?
Hold on. Now, I actually wanted to do the one in Las Vegas. I thought that'd be a cool one. I didn't get a chance to when I was down there. But have you ever heard of a movie called The Wild Hunt, Ryan?
No.
This is a Canadian movie. Hold on, I got it, John. Well, you're probably going to look it up anyways. And its tagline is, "It's no longer a game." This movie was about the role-playing people who do the elves and, they have these little things. And then they sit there and fight with their fake swords. And then through the movie, actually, people take it too seriously and start killing people in the movie. But
shenanigans.
Yeah, shenanigans happen. And that's where they took it. Is that what they're going to do with this movie? I mean, because you're basically role-playing with this.
I don't know. I think that what they might be doing is just really banking on the popularity of things like Game of Thrones. You know what I mean? And then also in a world where back in the day, Pirates of the Caribbean was this insane idea that they were going to take a ride from Disneyland and turn it into a movie. And I saw that thing like 8 times in the theater. The first one kicked ass. So yeah. I don't know, man. I don't know what they plan on doing with this. Well, they could make it anywhere near entertaining, but like I said, I think they might just be banking on the Game of Thrones sort of sword and sorcery resurgence that has come out in the past couple of years.
The difference between something like this and Disney is you have Disney, which is the single largest entertainment corporation in the entire world,
right,
who has generations of people to bank on.
Right. Versus
a restaurant 1 in 100 people have actually ever seen in person.
Right. Exactly my point.
Okay.
Like this is where it's gotten to. Well, actually, this segues nicely into my second.
Okay, hold on. I'm not done with this yet. Have you seen the movie Waiting? Do you remember that one?
Which one?
Waiting.
The restaurant movie?
Yes.
Yes.
They should do it like that.
That would be awesome. That movie I would go see, especially if you hire somebody like Danny McBride and Seth Rogen and those kinds of people to jump on board.
If they do like a background of like what goes behind the scenes,
right,
that would be more entertaining than them trying to do it like Game of Thrones.
But they're going to do it like Game of Thrones.
Why? I mean, that makes absolutely no sense because it's a restaurant. It's a chain of restaurants where you sit down and you watch these these guys fight each other.
Because it's a theme everybody's interested in.
Oh, but James, dude, dude, if they make this movie a comedy, I will go opening effing day.
Well,
here's what I'm saying.
Well, here's the thing. I think James is right. There's a huge chance of that because if you see the two movies that people have done, I think there's a large chance this is going to be a comedy.
But I see. Oh man, but yeah, I suppose Hangover 3 and Jack and Jill.
I mean, come on.
I suppose so. I suppose so.
As long as they don't bring back the goat.
I mean, come on. The Hangover the Hangover franchise has milked being hung over by two movies.
If you guys haven't seen the movie Waiting, go watch Waiting.
No.
And then tell me what you think about the goat.
No. I have no desire.
Brian knows what I'm talking about.
But if James, if they do that, if they do the Waiting version of Medieval Times, it's really going to depend entirely on casting.
That's true. Okay, your other bit of news, I'll let this one go.
Again, this will bring me nicely to
a halt.
Nicely to a halt. Thank you very much. No, I've been obsessed with what movies are being remade or talked about being remade lately.
Oh, please don't.
So
I think it is.
I picked basically a baker's dozen of shit that you would have no idea that's being remade, but it's more of just a cross section of how bad it's getting.
You'd be surprised.
Now these movies, the following movies, are in some form of production, whether it be pre-production or otherwise, or being written. All along the Western Front: Annie, Mad Max, Old Boy, Pet Sematary, Point Break, Child's Play, Dirty Dancing, Starship Troopers, Fletch, Neverending Story, War Games, and Time Bandits.
And don't forget Gremlins.
Okay, hold on.
Gremlins.
I didn't know about Time Bandits.
Why Starship Troopers?
And Dirty Dancing? Didn't they just redo that?
We're not even reaching back into like we used to reach back into the 50s to remake movies. You know, now we're reaching back 3.5 years. There's going to be a point where it's going to be like a bad freaking Spaceballs joke where we're watching the movie as it's being made.
Okay,
it's happening now. Now.
Wait, but that happening now just happened now. So what's happening now?
Oh man, it's like a retarded who's on first. Anyway.
Oh God, I never thought of that.
Anyway, no, but they redid Dirty Dancing like 3 times.
Yeah, they did. Well, no, they've done 2. It's been the original, and they did Havana Nights.
All right. Well, the original was bad enough.
Sequel, so
yeah. But hold on. Now let's get this down. Okay, I mean, they did. How many times did they redo Spider-Man within a 10-year period?
Well, there's only been 4 Spider-Man movies.
There's been 2 sequels and 1 remake, but the remake came less than 10 years after.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So it could, and let's not even get into the Hulks.
Right.
So it could be that the studio's not happy with what was done with the first one.
Can't they wait another decade before they reproduce it?
I don't know. I'm kind of excited about the Child's Play.
I'll be honest, I really like Starship.
After 6 movies, you're really excited about the remake of it?
At least it's not phantasm.
Hold on. If they're doing the original, I didn't think the original was done that well.
Oh man, I thought the original was freaking hysterical with the mom from Seventh Heaven in it.
It's funny, but I mean, I think that they could have done it better. I mean, there was kind of a little bit of rush things in there.
I got an idea. Why don't they mix Child's Play with Chucky?
Hold on. Now, if they do
What?
It just registered what he just said, and I'm about to throw something at him.
See, I did it on purpose just to see what James would say.
Now, they rush things. Like if they got like, I don't even want to mention that movie anyway. But if they did what they did with Halloween 2, with this new Child's Play, they got hope. You know, kind of do a little background on him. Because, I mean, he just all of a sudden shows up and knows, like, voodoo and how to transfer his body to a doll. Really? Really? This guy who's a petty thug?
Dude, we're already dealing with a serial killer who transferred his existence to a doll. Okay, so how how much more hardcore do you expect this to be? I mean,
no, I want to know where the hell he's.
Oh, okay. You want there to be a little science in it. I get it.
No, I want to know what the hell this guy all of a sudden just randomly knows. Okay, we're getting on this.
Basically, what James is talking about is he wants backstory to the killer instead of just showing up in a doll. What he's saying is, like, who was the person who became the doll?
Yeah.
So you want the Chucky? Batman Begins of Child's Play?
Yes, that's what he wants.
That's what I'm asking for. That's what I'm asking for, because they basically what you come in on Child's Play is the serial killer who's running from the cops, and then all of a sudden knows that he's going to be caught, isn't going to be caught alive, goes into a toy store,
the toy factory, wasn't it?
No, it was a toy store.
Oh, okay.
And transfers himself into this doll.
A creepy doll that looks like My Buddy from the 80s.
Yeah. So just randomly, that's what you come in on in like the first 10 minutes of this movie.
I'm sorry.
Because obviously there's no kind of thought behind it other than like, hey, wouldn't it be cool if this guy, the serial killer, was in a doll and the doll killed people? Now, once you've thought of that, it's like, how do we get to that point as quickly as possible so nobody asks any fucking questions?
Well, I'm asking the questions, so screw you. Give me the answers.
I don't know.
Well, hey, look, you and whoever the hell else is remaking this movie is apparently asking questions. So,
anyways,
my only question is: do they need to remake bad horror movies from the 80s? I mean, they're making.
No, listen, that's why I brought this list up. Do they really need to remake any of these?
Well,
hold on. They just released another Starship Troopers spin-off.
Marauders 3.
What was it? Last year or was it this year?
Oh, that's been a couple of years, but
no. Marauders. The most recent one was like 2012 or this year.
The latest one was like 2011 or something like that.
No, it got released straight to DVD.
Yeah, and this one had Casper Van Dien in it, who was in the original. I'll be honest, I like the original, but it's not that good. I don't know how you can make a non-campy version of Starship Troopers. It's just not.
Starship Troopers 3, Casper Van Dien, 2008. I told you.
No, there was another one.
2012 was Starship Troopers Invasion, but that didn't have anybody interesting in it.
Yeah,
that's what I was trying to think of.
The Invasion was a cartoon, though, wasn't it?
I don't know.
I just don't see.
I didn't bother watching it because I bothered watching Marauders.
Yes, it is an animated.
See, here's the thing. Okay. I just don't see how they could redeem a franchise that wasn't redeemable to begin with.
No, the first Starship Troopers kicked ass, but why franchise it, I have no idea. Now, why continue to do a franchise or think that it... I don't know.
It's becoming the Universal Soldiers of movies. The first one was good, but everything after that sucked.
Well, I was going to say the Stargate of movies, but same thing.
Did you just pick on Stargate?
Yes, he did.
Well, yeah, the first one kicked ass. I love that, but then everything else after that, it's like, what the hell? How did this franchise become that popular?
Come on, MacGyver's in it, dude. He can MacGyver anything.
Oh, jeez. Anyway.
So, ladies and gentlemen, running up towards the end of the program, we're actually 7 minutes over.
Oh, because they were over.
Yeah.
Next, I got distracted by Chucky.
Yes.
Child's Play. And whatever.
My bad joke. So, which movie have we decided to do for
Into Darkness?
So next week's movie, our theater pick is Star Trek Into Darkness, which is the new...
Damn right it is.
The J.J. Abrams movie. Who this, I think, according to what I've read, this is possibly his last Star Trek movie before going into Star Wars.
Well, probably. I think he's going to be a little busy.
Well, the rumor has it he's going to produce the next Star Trek. Maybe.
Well, that's fine, but I mean, you could produce something and sort of phone that in, you know?
Come on, I've seen directors phone in that, so how hard can it be?
True.
So, ladies and gentlemen, I gave the movie a 4, James gave the movie a 4, and Ryan gave it a 4, and we'll see you next week.
Goodbye.